I'm here in the fucked up, dysfunctional, beautiful petri dish of leftist activism, Portland, Oregon. This city has been a spotlight of a raging culture war all across the nation. It's known as a cesspool of homelessness, anarchy, and crime on the right, and a beacon of free expression, political activism, and liberal values on the left. Portland is even a hub for what's known as World Naked Bike Day, which is a tradition where Portland residents get bare-ass naked and ride their bikes all across the city to protest the use of cars and overdependency on fossil fuels. So yeah, it's pretty fucking liberal. This city has the highest number of strip clubs per capita than any other location in the United States. It has one strip club for every 11,826 residents. Let's take a deep dive and rank all 54 Portland strip clubs from worst to best. I'm kidding. This one is the worst though. Based on internet reviews, okay, not my own personal experience. In my own personal experience, this one's the worst. Diamond stole $60 from my wallet when I wasn't looking. Portland also has the world's smallest park. Coincidentally, this is the only park in Portland that doesn't have any fentanyl syringes in it. But that's not what this video project's about. It's also not an expose on the worst parts of the city or a compilation of rage bait content of leftists spouting their hope for the downfall of the United States. It's also not a bunch of self-serving, egotistical virtue signal videos where I give homeless people money for clout. The goal of this video project is to try and find common ground between people of varying political backgrounds. It's to interview people about what they think the future of the country looks like and get to the root of why they believe what they believe. And I know that being optimistic and trying to find common political ground isn't really that exciting. I know that I would get way more traction and views if I had a thumbnail like this and a title that was like, "I spent 5 days in the communist cesspool that is Portland. Insane reactions, not clickbait." But I don't really agree with that. I think content like that divides us, and it puts a false image in somebody's head that only reinforces stereotypes on one side. I've gone all across the country. I've interviewed people in very conservative areas in the deep South.
We all know this.
Roll fucking Tide.
Roll Tide!
Let me get your nastiest Roll Tide.
Roll fucking Tide, baby! And that's all we need!
So it only makes sense to get people's opinions in one of the most left-leaning cities in the entire United States. This shit never gets easier, dude. I'm like super fucking socially awkward, and how's it going?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I don't know. What do you think? You feel optimistic? Or?
I'm optimistic. I'm doing this video project where I travel around the country and I interview people and ask these questions. If you're interested in doing an interview.
Yeah, man. I feel like we're leading towards Marxism or communism. I feel that's a bad route to go down.
Okay, I would love to hear your opinion if you're interested. Okay, hell yeah. Yeah, well, that's kind of, I post them on YouTube and stuff, but I've been traveling the country and I'm trying to get as, like,
Man, I mean, I'm a bro. I don't want to.
I can like blur faces and stuff. Yeah.
I want there to be a record when future generations look back, they're going to be like, everybody wasn't completely fucking demented.
What do you think the future of the country looks like?
I think it looks like a communist future. We're going to have a central banking system. We have our education is being controlled by the government. I think there's going to be more government intervention. The current plans that I'm aware of, they want to cut people's ability to travel, to maneuver around. They want to get rid of fossil fuels. They want to abolish private property. They want to create zones in the forest for habitation of the forest areas. So all of that looks pretty dim when it's under government regulation, in my opinion. Yeah.
What do you think the biggest threat to the United States is?
Right now, honestly, it would be our education system. Everything is coming out of a public school system. I live 2 blocks away from PSU, and I'm convinced that's where they breed domestic terrorists. I have conversations with kids down there all the time. They tell me that the Constitution was written by a bunch of wealthy white slave owners. We need to abolish the Constitution. Nobody should have private property. Everybody should get a universal basic income. Everything should be free. I mean, they don't want to work. It's but they learned that at PSU.
What do you think the best way to deal with that threat is?
Through education, through people coming together. I think that a lot of what America has done is it's kind of outsourced the responsibility of taking care of our senior citizens. That's the history of our family, that's the history of our nation, and that used to be historically who raised the children and who instilled morals and values and ethics into a family. And we've removed that, so I think we need to get back to the roots, man.
I feel like there's a lot of political division within the United States. Do you think that there's possibility of both parties finding common ground somehow?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like, I think that what the Democratic Party tries to do has good intentions. I think there does need to be social programs. I mean, personally, I have a good job. I'm not lower class, and I've had to use food stamps and other services before at different times in life, going through school and in between jobs. And I think that if we can spend as much money as we do on our military and these other useless projects around the world, we should at least be able to take care of basic necessities for people in this country. And so on that note, I think that everybody wants to do the right thing. I think that conservatives just kind of look at things from more of an economic standpoint as to where are we going to find the money to implement these programs and help people. So I think that's the biggest difference, but I think the common ground can be found with people have a innate interest in helping others, man. That's where we connect with people. That's where we find gratification in what we do, and I think we're all human, man. That's where we're going to find common ground.
Cool. What's your name?
I'm Yakov.
Yakov. What do you think the future of the United States looks like?
I can tell you the lens which I care a lot about, which is transportation.
Okay.
We are at a intersection when it comes to how our cities function and how our communities function. The problem, I think, is suburbs are lonely places. They're expensive places. Cities are also very expensive places. Poor people get pushed out of the city center, but they work in the city center, so they have these crazy long commutes. How people get to work and where people live defines affordable housing, defines affordable wage, defines all of these things. Cost of living goes up, things are further away from each other, and it's really lonely. And I think the reason for that is our dependency on automobile as a means of defining everything. I don't think there's a single solution. I think each part of the US, each region is going to come up with their own answer for how do you put things closer together in a smart way.
What do you think the biggest threat to the United States is?
I think on a practical level, we have depression, anxiety, and drug addiction. And anyone can get addicted to drugs. It's in our DNA. But people who have bad life situations are going to be the ones who are finding themselves more often in that spot. I think we would have less depression if we had a less lonely social fabric. I think the degradation of social fabric, and that's when you see it riots and these terrible events that burn in our memories.
Yeah.
I think that is of the larger threats.
What do you think the best way to deal with that degradation of the social fabric is?
In cities like Portland, it's managing the relationship between police and the judicial system. You fix that, you can heal the social fabric.
I'm doing interviews if you're interested. Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I had a rough day.
Oh, you're chilling.
I'll let you know, I had the first time in my entire life where I feel like I had been harassed at work.
Oh no.
45 years old. That's gross.
That's crazy.
It's crazy because I never realized the true feeling of being harassed is helplessness. Where you feel like there's it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Best of luck with this. I hope you get some good energy.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
It's a good spot in town to get it.
Yeah, thanks.
This neighborhood's opinionated in fun ways.
Good. Did you hear that? He said this neighborhood is opinionated in good ways. What do you think the future of the country looks like?
Well, I guess it could look a couple different ways. It depends on which future we decide to take. So, I mean, it could be quite good, could be quite bad. It could be, if you're talking long term, more than likely, 1,000 years from now, I doubt it will still be around. But that's just, the nature of states. It's difficult for states to last that long. Short term, I'm hoping for the best. Finding some kind of free energy. I've got a lot of hope for things like cold fusion. That would be a game changer as far as energy goes, because I don't foresee a future that we don't need energy unless it's a bad future indeed.
What do you envision as sort of the worst case scenario?
Well, nuclear annihilation, right? So, or shoot a huge bolide striking the Earth or something like that.
Yeah.
That's bad. But nuclear annihilation, sure, that's still on the table, unfortunately.
What do you think the biggest threat is to the United States?
Short term, in the immediacy, I think the the flirting with authoritarianism scares me. Hopefully, in the short term, 20 years from now, people will look back now, like a lot of people will look back now, kind of like they looked back at the 1920s when the KKK was really big, and just be like, oh, well, that was weird, But I think cooler minds will eventually prevail on that. So, yeah.
Do you think that there's possibility of both parties finding common ground somehow?
Well, yeah, people have more in common than they don't. I guess you could get some really crazy super leftists and some crazy right, winger, and they may not have a whole hell of a lot in common, but they still like food. They still like, all of them like the idea of freedom of speech. All of them like the idea, to some extent, of family and loving each other. People have more in common than they don't. There's a lot of forces that like to wedge people apart. So, but yeah, sure, people can find common ground. I get along with people from a lot of different stripes politically. Yeah, I try.
Another person that I was able to meet up with and interview for this video project was Skam. Skam is a prominent political street artist in Portland that has been living in the city for over 17 years. I was very interested in hearing what he thought about the evolution of Portland over the past 2 decades, from the lens of the street art scene. I was also curious to hear his takes on the future of the United States, the biggest threat to the country, and finding common ground.
So basically, we spray painted these different squares or whatever. And then the first day I wheat pasted posters. I had a bunch of these already. I use these as backgrounds for all different kinds of stuff. I basically did the different squares, and then these are different stencils I brought the next day, and basically taped them up, sprayed them, and then I basically hand painted each one of these.
That's what I was wondering, because when I saw the wheat paste, I felt it, and then these are the stencil parts right here.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Skam. That's your name?
Street art name, yeah. It's been a name I've had since 2005.
How long have you been in Portland?
Portland, I've been here. I moved here in 2008. I helped establish Portland's street art scene. There's only a couple of us actively doing stuff in Portland at the time. Now there's probably 50 or 60 active artists, but the scene's not like how it used to be at all. Originally, everyone was just kind of doing their own styles and learning how to silk screen or stencil or to hand draw their posters or stickers or whatever. And now it's just kind of everyone gets the same stuff printed by the same guy.
So you think it's more conformed in terms of?
Yes, 100%. The scene out here in Portland, I feel, is so toxic. I experienced this thing with my friends out here in Portland. Been living out here for 17 years, a bunch of my friends have moved away. And they've experienced this kind of toxic mentality that people have kind of enabled in this city. It's in all major big cities, but I feel like here in Portland it's more prevalent. Everyone is acting like they're not conforming to a certain way, but they actually are. Anyone who's on the outside of those circles or is asking questions, kind of gets rejected now from those people.
Like in terms of toxicity, is it like an ideology or like a mentality or?
It's just all these people who are just gets offended by words, like the dumbest things. Like, you know, like a comedian, you know, makes a joke or something like that. And it's like, to them, it's kind of like this like moral ladder that doesn't really exist. I feel like these people, a lot of these people in Portland now act like they're morally better than other people. And like, I want to be different, and I am not morally better than anyone but my former self. These people want to draw lines in the sand, okay? Just like the right does and the left or whatever. I want to erase lines, but people don't like people who like talk like this.
Is that sort of the evolution that you've seen Portland take over the past 17 years?
Oh yeah, big time out here. And as a political artist, it's like people have these expectations that you need to do this. Like as soon as Joe Biden jumped out of the race, people are like, where's the Kamala scam? And it's just like, dude, fucking give me a moment to breathe. Like, I've done Trump, and like people think because I did Joe Biden, I'm a Trump supporter. And it's like, no, I think they're all terrible, and we're all like, doesn't matter which path we're on right now, it all leads to genocide. You know what I'm saying? Like our money's going to kill innocent people and everything, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Was your art always political?
Yeah, I mean, I was a part of the first Iraq war protests. Hillary Clinton was actually my first scam. She was the first like political person that I chose. And then I did Bush, and I did Rudy Giuliani. So I've been like doing this for a while, going after both sides, like, because I feel like they're fundamentally both evil. There's this thing called the horseshoe theory. It's like a political theory that our political spectrum's like a horseshoe. Where does the horseshoe almost touch? It's far extremities, which would be like communism and fascists.
Yeah.
Any kind of extremism is bad, all right?
Yeah.
Like, just kind of, like, I've seen that kind of, like, behavior and mentality kind of, like, be worshipped and flourished out here. And it's just, to me, it's kind of fucking disgusting.
The point of the video project is to interview as many people as possible and ask them what they think the future of the United States looks like in 5 or 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's going to completely crumble.
Really?
Yeah, I think the United States is on a collapse course right now. We probably have about 20 to, like, I'm being conservative right now, 20 to 30 years before we run out of fresh water. And that's going to that'll be the next war that we go through and stuff. Clean water is going to definitely be a thing. Maybe we can get out of it, maybe we can't, but I don't think climate change is going to let us have any other options. Once climate change really takes effect and like really destroys like the central part of the United States, places like this on the coast are going to be like refugee cities. It'll be like one of the only places in the United States where there'll be fresh water. And I feel like if we don't destroy ourselves, like blowing each other up in a world war, that's going to be what's going to happen.
What do you think the biggest threat facing the United States right now is?
I think it's like political divide, to be honest. Being bipartisan has like completely fucking gone. And I feel like that's kind of because of Trump. I feel like Trump swung that pendulum so far to one side that it's swung so far to the other side, you know, where it's like the left's just ridiculous. They're getting upset about the dumbest shit.
Right. What do you think the best way to alleviate that is?
Well, I feel like if you really sit down and talk to people, like not on the internet either, because people just like their cocky little fuck faces on the internet. Yeah. I feel like it has to deal with getting people out of this kind of like mentality that they've been indoctrinated in. I feel like people are fucking brainwashed right now.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because one of the main goals in this video project that I'm doing is to try and find common ground. Do you think that finding common political ground between parties is possible within the United States?
I mean, yes, I do, but I feel like it fucking sucks, because it's probably going to take some kind of terrible thing. I thought maybe the pandemic would do that. No. I feel like it's because Trump was still around and everything. He needs to go fucking die. He should have died. He should have been assassinated, personally. If anyone deserves a fucking bullet in their fucking brain, it's our fucking ex-president. I feel like it's gonna take getting rid of some of these figures who like are just destructive, okay? We have a lot of work to do. And like, unfortunately, it's not going to be the left, the anarchists and stuff who are going to save us. It's got to be more people in the middle and more people who are center-minded to work together, because these people on the far extremes are too far gone. All right, it's the people in the middle that are kind of right and kind of left, maybe in the middle. Those people are going to save our country.
So that was my time in Portland, and I'm going to be honest, I have a more positive view of the city after doing this video project than before I arrived. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I love the city, or even that I like the city. I just don't hate the city as much as I did before I came. Portland is a place that has a lot of deep history and culture, and it doesn't matter if Portland will eventually abolish roads or become a communist dictatorship, or is destroyed in a nuclear Armageddon, or becomes a refugee city for people escaping climate change. One thing's for sure, it's gonna stay weird, and it's probably gonna get weirder. Holy shit. Holy fuck, I didn't even know that was gonna happen. Damn. I got lucky.